Hello there, my name is Simon Kerins. Welcome to another Sports Call broadcast. Monday the 4th of July 2016 marked another Sports Call first as we held a Facebook party to discuss the debacle that was England's Euro 2016 Championship campaign. We started off by looking at certain issues that may identify the reasons for England's disastrous campaign out in France. Where did the blame lie? What went wrong? Who should take the team forward in the future? And what, as frustrated England fans, should our level of expectation be going forward? Carl Allen was the first to enter the fray, identifying a number of issues worthy of consideration. He told us that in his opinion, the England players play much better alongside high-quality foreign players in the Premier League. As such, the England team itself is very ordinary. He also felt that there was far too much reliance on players selected on reputation as opposed to form, and he cited the omissions of the likes of Danny Drinkwater and Mark Noble, when players like Jack Wilshere, who had hardly played any football in the previous season, were selected for the tournament. He went on that teams like Germany, Italy and Spain have their key players playing together at domestic clubs. Therefore, they have much more game time together over the course of the season. And he remarked that despite going into the tournament as a solid team with a fixed formation and set ideas, England's campaign unravelled very quickly. Strange decisions, square pegs in round holes, and various other footballing cliches. Personally, I agree with everything Carl had to say. In particular, the decision to take Wilshere was absurd, especially when you take into account the fact that Danny Drinkwater and Mark Noble, coming off outstanding seasons, were left behind. In my view, the last England manager to select players on form rather than reputation was Sven-Göran Eriksson. Yes, he had his faults, but this was certainly not one of them. And worryingly, Sven-Göran Eriksson ceased to be England manager a whole 10 years ago. Conor Howarth then chipped in, saying that in his opinion, Andy Carroll would have been a very useful asset against the solid back four of Iceland. Once again, I agreed with this, not just because I'm a West Ham fan, but because Andy Carroll is very much a Plan B player. If you don't start him, you can always turn to him when things are not going to plan. And things were certainly not going to plan against Iceland. Carl then came back, agreeing that Carroll's selection should have taken place. The number of crosses that were launched in with nobody on the end of them was extremely frustrating. To that end, we also feel sorry for Harry Kane. He had a great season, but he looked like a pub player. Well, as manager of the pub football team, I would actually disagree. He looked far worse than that. And incidentally, why was Harry Kane taking corners and free kicks? Surely, as a big, strong number 9, he should have been in the box, looking to get on the end of the crosses, and if he couldn't score himself, then cause chaos. Carl suggested that going forward, his England 11 should be Heaton, Klein, Cahill, Stones, Bertrand, Drinkwater, Noble, Ali, Rashford, Vardy and Carroll. And of course, the issue of team selection is something that we shall revisit later in this broadcast. Joe Rees, also known as Pedro, then entered the fray with his contribution. And he said, as soon as I saw the England squad that was selected for the tournament, I could sense disaster. Taking Wilshere instead of Danny Drinkwater? Crazy. Roy giving big names the spot on the flight, instead of having the quality to spot out the younger players who would have been hungry to play. I think a foreign manager would be miles better than an English one, and also Ashley Williams pretending to be Welsh when he should play for us doesn't help. Carl too agreed, saying that there should not be an obsession with having an England manager who is English. The England manager should be the best man for the job, and Carl's vote went to Arsene Wenger or Laurent Blanc. Once again, this was something that we were to look at as the session continued. Certainly Joe made some extremely relevant points. Seeing Marcus Rashford's name mentioned reminded me of the decision to give him the last 5 minutes against Iceland. when he should have been on for at least 20 for the flagging Sturridge. Carl then came back to say that there is a contrast, and he's absolutely right, a marked contrast between the morale, attitude and passion of the England players compared to their counterparts from Wales. Wales, of course, had a fantastic tournament, getting to the last four, losing in the semi-finals to Portugal in what was their first international tournament since 1958. Chris Coleman and his players deserved nothing but the highest praise for their achievements. And of course, it's worth bearing in mind that Wales were following a very simple blueprint. A solid formation, tons of passion, heart and commitment, and a manager, according to Carl, who most definitely picks the informed players. I couldn't agree more. There is clearly, in my view, a disconnect between the England team and its supporters, whereas a proverbial blind man could see the wonderful camaraderie and bond that existed between Wales and their followers. I then asked the question who people's idea of a foreign coach would be. If we're going to go down that route, who would it be? Who should it be? One thinks, of course, of a footballing equivalent of Eddie Jones. We certainly need a footballing equivalent of Eddie Jones, who has revitalised England's rugby union side following our disastrous World Cup on home soil only last autumn. And of course, we can trust experienced managers, or can we, to pick the best players and to pick those players on form? Can we trust them to give youth the chance? It's okay picking the likes of Marcus Rashford, but if you do that, you have to give them a lot more than 5 minutes, especially when all other options are failing so miserably. Sean Nowell made some very significant and welcome contributions to the discussion. He pointed out there was no plan B or cutting edge, which was absolutely shocking. He said we've no real individual stars like in years gone by, so as a team we need to get back to basics and work hard for each other. Going forward, he favours Big Sam Allardyce as manager and agreed that Andy Carroll would be great as a plan B. He also cited the Wimbledon model, the Crazy Gang, from the late 1980s. If you're of a certain vintage, you will remember them. If you're not, you won't. And if you don't, Google them, look them up. Talk about passion, camaraderie and unity. You would struggle to find a greater example than Wimbledon. I then suggested that the times are changing in terms of international football pecking order. When you think of the resurgence of Wales, when you think of the coming of age of Iceland, you have to also feel that we, as an England team, were guilty of much complacency. It's okay to qualify with a 100% record, but when push comes to shove, hey lads, hey, the campaign begins proper, we once again were found very much wanting. Sean agreed, saying that Wales and Iceland have been a breath of fresh air. Slovakia, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland also did themselves extremely proud, and it could be that regarding England the fear factor has gone. In fact, as far as these new coming teams are concerned, maybe there is no fear factor. They're confident, they believe in themselves, they're glad to be in the tournament, they have nothing to lose. Carl then interjected, saying that he cannot remember a passionate England team since France 1998. And then he went on to win the prize of the evening, which was a bottle of beer for answering this question. Which team went unbeaten through the 2010 World Cup? It wasn't Spain who actually won the tournament. It was, can you recall? New Zealand. That was the prize, and Carl will be getting that beer very shortly. Sean felt that the England team of 2002 was a great team of individuals that massively underachieved. In other words, after our disappointing Euro 2000 campaign, we didn't learn the lessons, we didn't push on. And I think it's fair to say that the last England team that was really worthy of winning a major tournament was the Euro 96 squad. Perhaps we were unlucky in France 1998 when David Beckham got sent off against Argentina and Sol Campbell had a perfectly good goal disallowed in the same game. And yes, you've guessed it, we suffered another penalty shootout failure. But in Euro 96, as was the case in Italia 90, we were so close, quite literally, licks of paint away from ending all those years of hurt. And morale and unity and banter and all those lovely words were very much at the heart of those campaigns, and that fact was not lost on Sean, who said that in 1996 the England team played brilliantly, but in the build-up was slated for too much team building, too much socialising, and he cited as an example the famous, or should that be infamous, episode involving the dentist chair celebration. Joe then came back with a comment on who he would like to see replacing Roy Hodgson as manager. He said he would love to see Wenger, but he couldn't see it happening. It would be interesting, wouldn't it, if that were to be the case, but I think, in all probability, he will sign another contract at Arsenal. Further proof, if you like, that clubs today matter far more than countries. Christopher Heap then entered the debate, asking why can't we do what Iceland did and have two managers, an old head alongside a younger up-and-coming manager? It's a very good question. It certainly worked for Iceland, and I've noticed over the last few years it seems to be a feature of Scandinavian and Northern European teams. Neil Martin asked, if England could tempt Wenger, then they would have to wait until his contract expires at Arsenal, wouldn't they? As Arsenal would not release him. I guess, however, we can't wait that long for a new manager. No, because of course the World Cup qualifications for Russia 2018 begin in just a few months' time. I like that idea, I like that comment from Neil. I like Chris's suggestion as well, and I felt that a combination of an older head and a younger up-and-coming coach could certainly work, ensuring that after the older head left the fray, there would be continuity, whereas now, after Hodgson's demise, we seem to have gone straight back to the drawing board. My personal opinion would be that Harry Redknapp, alongside somebody like Eddie Howe, Rio Ferdinand, somebody like that, could work well. I certainly feel, though, that the older head would need to be the decision maker, would need to be very much the figurehead of the qualifying campaign, supported ably by the younger learner. And then we had some banter around who the right person would be. Even I was mentioned. Well, as manager of Dog Inn for over 15 years, I already feel that I've got the best job in the world. Christopher agreed that Harry Redknapp would be a good call, perhaps with Alan Shearer alongside, putting his money where his mouth is. Craig Barnes agreed that Alan Shearer would be a good call, but Christopher counted only if he has someone to guide him, a la Harry Redknapp. We then moved on to talk about our predictions for the tournament, and at that stage, let me remind you, we were still at the semi-final stage. Wales were yet to play Portugal, France yet to play Germany, and Sean predicted a Germany-Portugal final, both teams going through after 1-0 wins, with Germany going on to win the final 3-1. Well, of course, following France's 2-0 win over Germany on Thursday night, that won't be happening. Sadly, it will not be a Gallic affair, France versus Wales, but instead France versus Portugal. And I invited other people to chip in with their comments and suggestions, not just for the final, but also for the future of England as an international force. In order to help that, I suggested my own team going forward, a team that I feel would be very good in the qualifying stages and also offer much for the years ahead. And yes, I apologise, well, I don't actually, for the fact that there is a very strong West Ham presence in that team. But I find it incredible to think that West Ham players, despite that wonderful season in 2015-16, were so largely ignored. Going forward, I would select Fraser Forster in goal, Kyle Walker at right back, West Ham's Aaron Cresswell at left back, Eric Dyer and John Stones in the heart of defence, Michail Antonio on the right side of midfield, Marcus Rashford attacking from the left, with Dele Alli and Mark Noble in central midfield, Andy Carroll and Jamie Vardy up front. I'm not necessarily saying go with that in every single match, but I feel that would be a good starting point for England in a qualifying group that admittedly they really should win. Sean has suggested Big Sam as manager and sees him as the man to very much take England forward, instilling discipline, strength, reliability and camaraderie going forward. Very important qualities, of course, in a successful team. I expressed the opinion that Andros Townsend, who has recently left Newcastle to sign for Crystal Palace, would have been a very good selection, offering a width that we just did not have during the tournament. Sean agreed, saying there was no width whatsoever. He added that Andy Carroll for a plan B, with Kane not taking corners or free kicks. And then a few people commented on how clueless a decision that was, having Harry Kane out of position, way out of the penalty area, taking long-range free kicks and corners. At this stage, it was fair to say that I was delighted with the take-up and the engagement in our session. It was incredible to think that the time was rattling by, as it is now for that matter, and that before long we would be wrapping up and looking forward to the next version, the next edition of Sports Call. One thing that I wanted to ask people about was their views on the formation. It's a key consideration, and I felt that given time, the diamond formation that Roy Hodgson was using prior to the tournament could have worked given time. However, Hodgson ditched it far too quickly, in my view, without giving it a proper go. 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1 may well be in vogue now, but surely a manager should be imposing his best team on a formation, rather than putting square pegs in round holes and obsessing with the actual lineup. Christopher Heap clearly agreed, saying we should play the best players in their best positions. It was clear to see that Dele Alli was not at his best playing where he was played. The only reason he was playing there was to accommodate Rooney, and the whole midfield was out of shape, purely because of Hodgson's decision to play Rooney there. And that was a view shared not just by people contributing to the session, but also many people that I've spoken to during and since the tournament. For what it's worth, I don't think Wayne Rooney had a bad tournament, but certainly it's clear to see that over the next few years, if he is going to be involved with the England team still, it may well have to be from the bench rather than from a starting position. And then we rounded the session off by previewing how Wales would do, and also acknowledging the wonderful contribution that they have made, along with various other nations, to the tournament. Neil Martin said, I think Wales will have a great game against Portugal, but I fear that despite a lacklustre performance by the Portuguese, they will nick a win. However, I expect Wales to walk away head up high, whatever the result. Well, that is certainly true. And in many respects, Neil was right on the first point as well. It wasn't a thriller-minute match against Portugal. It certainly wasn't a thriller-minute performance by Portugal, but win they indeed did, going through to the final where they will play France. However, Wales have gone away with their head held high. They've returned home to a hero's welcome, justifiably so. Christopher said Wales will win 2-1 and play France, who will beat Germany 2-0. Well, Mystic Chris, can you give me the lottery numbers for Wednesday night, please? France to win the final after 2-1 extra time. Well, that might happen, but it would be against Portugal rather than Wales. And of course, I think it's fair to say that Portugal have benefited this time from the UEFA decision to extend the competition from 16 teams to 24. Overall, I think that has worked. But look at the facts. Portugal are in the final, having drawn all three group games, having won in extra time against Croatia, and then on penalties against Poland. In short, their semi-final win against Wales was their first, and to date only, 90-minute win of the campaign. Does a team like that really deserve to be in the final? Some of you will say yes, some of you will take a different view. The fact of the matter is, they are there, they will play France, and by the time of the next Sports Call broadcast, we will know who has won that game. We will also know, on this Saturday the 9th of July, whether Andy Murray has won his second Wimbledon title, playing Milos Raonic in the final. I, for one, hope he does, and I wish him every success in his attempt to do so. He plays with pride, he's committed, his heart is in every single point, something that could not be said for England in the tournament of Euro 2016. All in all, Monday night, the 4th of July, was a great sports call party. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Most grateful to everybody for tuning in and for sharing their thoughts with us. Sports Call will be back very soon with a brand new format, and I'll be saying more about that in the days ahead. But for now, I'm going to sign off. I hope you enjoy listening to this broadcast. And if you want to get in touch, it's very easy to do. You can email me, SimonKerinsSportsCall@gmail.com. If you know my mobile number, you can ring me or text me. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Kerins SportsCall. Kerins SportsCall. So all the very best for now. I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Bye for now.